And today I want to talk about some essential scales that you're going to want to learn on the guitar or in music in general, no matter what instrument you're going to be learning. So in order to do that, we need to understand what a scale actually is. So a scale is just a path that we're carving out from our starting point, whatever that starting point is, to the next iteration of that note, which would be called an octave. So the way we organize the Western system of music is to take everything that we see here, which is probably overwhelming. You know, we have 22 frets, 24 frets sometimes on the guitar. We have 6 strings. So it's a lot of combinations and a lot of possibilities. But the easiest way to do this is to bring it down into smaller fragments. So in Western music, we organize the notes in sets of 12. And we get all the way through the 12 notes, we're starting over again, kind of like a clock. We start at midnight, we go all the way through, we get back to 12. So let me pick a starting point. Let's say A. And A is the 5th fret on the low E string of the guitar. And I'm going to play the most basic scale, which is called a chromatic scale. This involves using every note in the system of music, from our starting point, which is our root note, to the octave, which is starting it over again. And this is what it sounds like. Okay? So that is every note that you can play. The problem is, it doesn't really sound that good. It's just too much information. There's nothing that jumps out at us. You don't really hear any melody or any potential for melody inside all of that played together in order. So scales, the ones that are the most common scales, major scales, minor scales, what we're doing is we're kind of cherry picking out of those 12 notes. And hopefully the result is we're getting more of a musical result instead of playing all of those notes one by one by one, okay? So I mentioned the major scale. That is the most common scale that you're going to come across and probably hear in music. You hear it in nursery rhymes when you're a kid. You hear it in holiday music, pop music, all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to start from the same root note, A. I'm going to play an A major scale. So I stopped here because this is the next octave. This is A again. But we have the next 3 strings, the G, B, and high E string. You can play the major scale again to the 2nd octave. So that would look like this. So now we have a 2-octave form of this A major scale. So let me play the entire thing from low E string to the high E string. So now we're going to move on to the minor scale. So if you can think of the major scale as kind of bright and happy sounding, the minor scale is kind of the counter to that. Everything's going to sound a little sadder, a little darker sounding. And this is, in popular music at least, you can make an argument that there's tons of different variations and there's other scales out there for sure. But you can make an argument that major and minor, those 2 sounds, at least in pop music and mainstream music, are the yin and yang of most melodies and chord progressions that you hear. So let's look at what an A minor scale might look like. All right, now let's look at what the next octave would be. So you notice there's probably a little bit of an uncomfortable hand shift that you have to make. So you were here, your ring finger is on the 7th fret on the D string. The most common way that a lot of people do it to get into the next octave, they shift over to the 4th fret on the G string, shift back, the index finger goes back to the 5th fret on the B string. So this makes the scale maybe a little bit harder to play, but let's do it one more time through the 2 octaves.